a triggered energy, especially in a relationship, is it pulls energy, and so you can easily find yourself just in a swept up argument if you don't allow yourself to just notice.
Welcome to another podcast of Freedom Culture. We're here with Lucien and Ashae, and we're here to talk about love codes and what that means for your relationship and how you can alchemize together to create something beautiful and amazing. I mean, looking at you two throughout the last 4 or 5 days that I've met you, that I've known you, it's apparent that you're very rooted in your relationship but have so much fun and are just like, you're on the same line all the time, it seems like. It's pretty amazing. That's my experience over the last 5 days. But so how do you do it?
We do it through an agreement that I think we made in the very beginning, which was to have a very present relationship that was willing to communicate consistently what we saw that was happening with us and through our bodies, through our minds, through all the different archetypal energetics that happen between the masculine and the feminine. And I think that we realized that because she's a writer and because she's already within her system, she's an artist and writer in her own right, and I'm a creator and thinker, that we just had this natural ability to constantly notice what was happening moment by moment, day by day, from like the relationship perspective, and to be able to talk about it in a way that almost like a medicine journey, where you go through the experience and then you integrate and you bring it forward, and then you make sure that whatever the medicine is, you land it in a way that creates that next step for you and for the us. That is.
Yeah, it's been quite an adventure, an intense journey together, because we make ourselves so vulnerable to share what's going on inside of our relationship with the world. And often when we're creating courses or creating material, we'll experience it through our relationship as well. So for example, when we created Trigger Play, which is a course on triggers, we experienced all kinds of triggers through our relationship, because what we're basically telling the universe is like, we want to work out what's going on with the masculine and feminine through our relationship and find and alchemize the way to create deep union and harmony and a beloved connection. We're really serving each other and holding each other and lifting each other up, and not using our power to dominate each other, but to come into coherence with each other. So it's been beautiful and quite an adventure to take that on and also be vulnerable to share that as we're in process with the world.
Yeah, because how long have you guys, like, how did this come about? Obviously you've been building it together, but then at some point...
Well, the way it came about is we met a year and a half ago. And the really taking on this Dharma occurred the 4th month, and it really happened here in Costa Rica.
But we knew it was going to happen.
We knew it was going to happen. The first date, we even said, like...
We felt it.
We felt it, like, right away, that we were meant to do this type of thing.
Yeah.
It was strange. It's like a deep knowing. And before that, what's even more interesting is that I had no intention of doing that.
Yeah.
It's not like I was saying, oh, I'm looking for a partner to do this type of thing with. It's like literally a recognition of soul, and the Dharma is there, and you just are told by your higher self that this is what this can do. This is what this can be.
Yeah.
And it was us acknowledging that with each other, and just being able to even both see that, and then speak to it, is part of the alchemy that we have. It's like we see something occurring, and then we'll call it out, and then we'll say, oh, I see that too.
Yeah.
And then we bring form to word, and then we're able to land that, and then that word, that thing that we create together, then can be offered to others.
Yeah.
And Spirit kind of made it known right away that we were meant to do the work together, because I remember probably right after we told the world, or Facebook, that we were in a relationship, and like it was like we really stepped into it. I got invited to host a retreat in Costa Rica right before last year's Envision, all about how to manifest your ideal partner. And I had literally, it was like 2 months since we started, and I got invited to do that. And I remember asking them, can he come?
Yeah.
And they said, well, does he teach with you? Because I do work with women as well on my own, and they were like, does he teach with you? And I just said yes, because I felt it in that moment.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was just so true. And we ended up creating a retreat together, and that's what really showed us where we were at and what we could do, because we were just thrown into this retreat space and we created it all together kind of on the fly, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, right before we got on, you were explaining about the different courses that you go through. So you have the triggers. Explain some of the other ones.
So we have trigger play, which is a way in which to acknowledge all the different ways that relationship in particular triggers come forward, and how triggers are gifts. And when you first are with someone, you have this ability to feel this beautiful attraction, right? And you feel all this magic, you feel this chemistry, you feel love. And the love helps bind the alchemy into an experience that then, once it begins to stir, you begin to then become yourself. And then as you become yourself, all of you begins to reveal in its own natural way yourself to the other. And through that, you have an opportunity for the beloved to be the reflector back. And we have this in friendship, we have this in tribe, but with the beloved, you can go very deep, because essentially this is your co-pilot. This person is with you through all the steps, and they can compare what happened before with what happened later. You know, it's like a constant checklist of where the alchemy is flowing within your own evolution. And so when you get to that safe spot, that place where you feel held, that's when the subconscious begins to emerge, and your childhood wounds, the parts of you that your soul is calling forward to work through, will emerge in the relationship. And when it does, you know, there's for many people, they can just get stuck in the loop of that. But to the degree that you can bring consciousness to it and actually just fully embrace the fact that it's a gift, it's a deeply beautiful thing that is happening, and that you can hold each other in that, then what that does is that really creates a deep agreement and relationship that holds your pain.
Yeah.
And offers healing,
And offers
support, and offers a roadmap to either totally release certain triggers or traumas that you've held in your system completely, or to be able to integrate them and work with them. And so cultivating this kind of relationship is, for me, it's like constantly becoming more and more and more of myself. And so one of the things that I like to say is that I want to support people in relationship that don't want to lose themselves. So many of us feel like we get into relationships, it's however long, and then it's like, where am I at the end? I don't know I don't know who I am, I don't know where to go, I don't know what my passions are. And so if you're getting into any inkling of that energy, you know that something is off. Yeah. And so for me, this relationship has continuously reminded me of who I am, and I've stepped into more and more and more of my true self. And so that feels to me like a really good marker of like how you know you're in a relationship that's deeply evolving and you're not stuck in just a trigger loop, is that you're both really becoming more compassionate, more empathetic, more genuine, more loving, more embodied, more connected to your heart, more sovereign in your choices, more able to have your own boundaries, and those are all honored and seen and reflected back to you. And
Yeah. And it results in like I think the overall arc for our journey is a deeper and deeper seeing of each other.
That's beautiful.
And you want to think about this loop as a spiral. So the loop is looping around, but a spiral is constantly expanding. It's still coming back around, but it keeps coming in a more expanded version of itself.
Yeah.
And this gives an example of like what a love code is. There are also techniques, like straight up techniques that you can do that addresses this form of reality.
Yeah.
So for example, a one that addresses the spiral, that actually allows the loop to become a spiral, is this thing that we do called take two.
Okay.
So take two is you have an experience with your partner, something is triggered, something comes up, and you go low frequency.
Yeah.
You go into blame, you go into shame, there's discordance, you don't understand, there's confusion, and then at some point, you're able to land what's actually happening, you're able to go move through the healing, you're able to integrate what you learned, and then at that moment, we basically have this agreement as a couple, as co-pilots, that we do take two, which is we agree to be time travelers. And we take that into that moment with the knowledge and gift that we have, and we go back to the moment before the thing happened, and we do it again.
Interesting.
With the new energetic. And so what that does is that brings the wisdom of the medicine back to the point, and then we can embody it in that next spiral out. And then we feel it and we go, oh, that feels way better. And then you notice later on in the next time something like that comes up, that energy, that vibration is more embodied in the vessel.
And to give you an example, it can be something super simple and something that there's not a lot of confusion, but it's just something like, let's say I walk in the door and Lucien really wants a big hug and he was just waiting for me all day and I'm just exhausted and I go onto the couch and he was like, oh, I wanted to greet you, I wanted to hold you, I really wanted that. Then I could literally just be like, okay, let's take two. I can walk out the door, I can come back in, and I can give him that beautiful gift that he was desiring. So we also use it for just simple desires. It doesn't have to be like,
That's right.
oh, something went wrong. It could just be like, oh, I really desire for this. I really desire that. Do you think we could do a take two? And obviously you can consent to that or not, but usually for our relationship, we love gifting that to each other, and it's just, how can we serve each other? And if you desire that in that moment, beautiful. Let me offer that to you.
Yeah. It's so fun to watch you guys because you're quite playful together, and then even in the titles of your courses, there seems to be a lot of play involved. I also heard you guys had a workshop at the mastermind we were just at in a tea tent, and I was sitting outside and I could hear a lot of laughing inside as well. So it seems like quite a joyous process.
Yes.
What seems like most people see it as a very strenuous and, like, when people are like, oh, I'm working on my relationship, we're going to therapy or whatever, it's usually not seen as that. So how did that get integrated, or why joy?
It's just choosing a different lens upon the experience. You can choose to turn it in. I mean, it's like you're switching genres. You can move it from horror to comedy. Like, it's really just what you create in your internal energetic and the way you lens reality has a massive effect over the whole energetic. And that's what we realize. It's like, that's what's so fascinating about the fact that, like, life will bring you into this circulation of loops, because you can do it again in a different way, and just you can try on a different garment, like literally a different spiritual energy, and hold it in a different way. You can try humor one time, you can try joyfulness, you can try deep presence and just holding. You can choose silence the next time. It could be the same thing that happens.
Yeah.
And you can play through these different energies, because through that exploration, you're getting to see what works for you, what works for her, and also what works for the us, the togetherness.
Yeah.
What is the best vibration that you can hold?
Yeah, someone said to me yesterday, oh, it so sucks. Me and my partner are processing all the time, and always something comes up, and I was like, wow, what a gift. What a gift. And truly, I personally have created a new outlook on when something comes up, and I don't see it as a challenge, quote unquote, anymore, ever. It's like if something is triggering in me, or I'm feeling sensitive, or Lucien says something that hits me the wrong way, or anything that comes up, literally my mind doesn't go into like, oh shit, or oh, this sucks, or that's not even part of my experience anymore, because I know so well that those things come up so that we can deepen our relationship, so that we can deepen our love, and so that I can move through something, or he can move through something, and ultimately they're here for us, and they're here to serve us, because in relationship we have the ability to clear a lot of the old relationship models, or the old wounding that we have, or sexual trauma, or little things that get inside of us. And so at the beginning it probably wasn't like that, where I was holding this perception, but we've gone through so many portals of quote unquote discomfort that I've deeply learned, and so I can share and say that anytime this stuff is coming up, it's really happening in service to the highest for both people and for the relationship. And so it's just like shifting that perception and looking at it like, okay, beautiful, and this doesn't need to be a 4-hour process. We can drop into deep presence with each other, we can hold hands, we can create a space where we can be deeply vulnerable with each other, and we're not gonna yell at each other, we're not gonna throw things, we're actually gonna drop in, and we're going to hold it in love, and in that space things can move a lot faster. Sometimes when we are not looking at each other, or when we're talking across the room to each other, and we're kind of just like going through something, but we're not really dropped into the moment, that's when it can take longer, or things get messy, or there's arguments or fights. But if we really allow ourselves to drop in, we can move through things really fast, and there's a lot of wisdom in that. So to me, it's such a beautiful process.
Yeah, that's been one of our biggest ones lately, is deep presence. So the thing that Ashae has called forward in the latest upgrade in our relationship is that she wanted to feel more silent presence with her.
Okay.
So not the mind. So there's a part where there was a period of time where I was trying to
Be the hero,
fix things. If she would go into emotional spaces, and she would hit something within herself or within us, I would immediately either take it upon myself to take the blame, or I'd want to be the hero, and so I'd either be the martyr, or I'd be the hero, or I'd be the fixer of her wound. But what her soul, after we went through this period where I kept noticing that wasn't working, and we hit this point where it was like, this is we really need to shift this energetic. And I just totally saw it. I totally felt it. And since that moment, I made a soul agreement with myself to just really, when I'm in her presence, to be energetically, consciously feeling into like where she's at, just holding her. And even if she hits these breaks, or she goes into any kind of space within herself, whatever that older part of me that wanted to come, the fixer wanted to come in, I'm just like, relax, fixer, you don't need to be here right now. Step back, and just like drop into her heart, feel her without any story, without any need to do anything other than to love her and to be there, right there with her. And
Yeah, we have something in one of our courses called Holding the Higher Field. And what that is it means that when you notice that your partner is in a trigger or in a bad mood, or even they're blaming you for something, instead of meeting them in that, if you can notice it and find that gap where you can see, okay, they're just in a space right now, how can you actually rise like two levels, two staircases above that, and just love them and hold space for that to pass? Because what happens in so many relationships is that one person gets triggered and they either blame the other person or they shame the other person, or there's something where, or maybe they don't, but they're just in a trigger. And if the other person doesn't notice that and just allows, because a triggered energy, especially in a relationship, it pulls energy. And so you can easily find yourself just in a swept up argument if you don't allow yourself to just notice, wow, my partner's in a trigger or my partner's in a space right now, and let me just hold the higher field and not go into that. And I'm just gonna hold love, and I'm gonna hold presence, and I'm gonna hold them where they're really at, because I'm holding in consciousness their higher self or their integrated self. I see who they really are, and this is not them. This is like a triggered 10-year-old who something came up and it reminded them of something from when they were young, and that's who I'm talking to right now. So if we can have the compassion to see that, and the wisdom and the maturity to hold that, we can get ourselves out of a lot of unnecessary processing and argument and conflict, because we're able to notice what's real and not just fall into it.
Yeah, that sounds, it sounds ideal. Like an ideal situation for any relationship. How long because you guys have been dating a year, almost a year and a half now? So how long does it take to get into that? Or maybe it's even harder if you don't start that way. Like in your experience when you're coaching, if people are coming out of bad patterns, negative patterns, and they're trying to change their mindset, how long does that process usually take?
I think it has to do with an agreement, because before I met Ashae, I was in a 20-year relationship that did not have those agreements in place. And if anything, it was the shadow of everything that I've learned. It was the shadow lesson of helping me to see what I needed to be and what I needed to bring forward in consciousness for myself and for a healthy relationship. And I feel like it really has to do with we're talking about containers, creating a container within yourself, creating a container together that actually just sets that intention in place that you're gonna just do these things. And it happens really fast. Like we did the group a few days ago in Punta Mona, and we had some couples there, and one of the, like a simple upgrade that we offered for one couple was, for someone who was there, was to say it the sexy way. So say it the sexy way is, if you get triggered, like you're not putting your seatbelt on, and your boyfriend continues to not put his seatbelt on, or your girlfriend continues not, and it annoys you, and you're already like have some kind of energetic. Just making this adjustment of your tone, of saying, as opposed to like, can you put your seatbelt on?
This is a true story.
This is us.
Love true stories.
And so she shifted that for me, and we came up with this agreement that, like, anytime she gets super triggered with little domestic things, because all those little things add up, is to say it in a really sexy way.
Or a cute way, or a sweet way. But don't let the annoyance, it's really not a trigger, it's like an annoying. And it's like, can you pick up your clothes? Baby, I would love it if you picked up your clothes. That'd be so sexy. It's way more inviting.
To create, to just inviting. Like lubricate the tension. Fun. Because what is sexy? Sexy is just like the lubrication of energy. And so just to lubricate your words with that sort of flow and that offering, like just
That energy,
that
yeah.
energy, like you're creating an invitation as opposed to like a rejection. Because
That's a good one.
people don't want to feel rejected.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that their soul doesn't want the medicine, but
Yeah.
it's how is the medicine delivered? How does it taste?
Yeah.
And so we did that with this. We offered this to someone who was in the space, and then his partner was here at the event, and she came up and she's like, "What did you do? What happened to this man?
He's a different person.
He's a different person. He's totally talking to me differently. Like, and obviously his irritability has become sexy, and it's just really beautiful. It's just really beautiful witness." So, in answer to your question, you know, how fast? It's really about bringing into awareness these tips, these codes,
Yeah.
and making an agreement together, both with yourself and to each other, and then doing it.
Yeah.
And you may find that even within 1, 2, 3 times, it becomes an embodied shift.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just about the light bulb moment kind of thing, and then being like, oh, and then doing it, and then because you're seeing the results, it instantly switches.
Yeah, and I would say it also takes some discipline
Yeah.
because part of our, I would call it ego, wants to fight, wants to challenge, wants to have power over, and wants to remain small, and wants to remain in the patterns that we've had or the patterns that we've had in other relationships. So it does take a little bit of discipline in the self to be able to resist the urge. It's like,
Yeah.
that's what I call it sometimes, like resisting the urge to go into it, because some part of it is fun, or else we wouldn't be doing it. So it's like resisting the urge, taking a breath, which like breathing is so important, because if we can take a breath in one of those moments, we can come back into our body, even if we tap our body, tap our heart, or like snap anything to remind us that like I don't want to go there. So there's that discipline, and then it's just about the agreement and discipline.
Sounds awesome. So, this has been, I know, Lucien, you're up on stage next, so I don't want to take too long, give you some time to prepare. But if people are looking for you and to be able to find this to enhance their relationships, and because, I mean, I'm single right now, but when I'm in, I'll definitely be looking for this. Because it just, like I said, you guys are so playful, and it seems amazing. So where can people find you?
Lovecodes.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and find us on Instagram. We post codes all the time. Anything that comes up, we either post it on Facebook. So friend us, Instagram, get on Instagram, and go to lovecodes.com for the curriculum.
Perfect. And we'll put the links in the comments. Thank you guys so much for your time and energy. This has been great.
And we're going to have a special, in 5 days, we'll have lovecodes.com/Envision. And anyone who goes to that will get 40% off for 1 week off of our courses.
Perfect. Great. Like I said, links in the comments. Check it out. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks.